How's it going, guys? I'm James from Kit Guru, and today we're looking at a cube that's not a cube, but it is the Macube 310 from Deepcool. The one we have here is actually the 310p, which is a kind of refreshed version of the original 310, and it has this large vented top panel to improve airflow. Other than the new top panel, pretty much everything looks identical to the original 310. You've got this large tempered glass side panel, gives you a nice view inside the case, and then there's this rather understated and solid, maybe airflow restrictive front panel. So we're expecting this to be priced at a similar amount to the original 310, which is around 65 to 70 pounds, and it should be available soon via Amazon UK, although this has not been confirmed by Deepcool yet, but this is kind of, what we're expecting, so there's possibility, price, availability could change. So let's dive on in, have a look at the features of this case, and then we'll see what it's like to build a system inside. So straight away, a really nice feature of this case is these side panels are actually held on by magnets, and they locate to the chassis with some metal pegs, and they're really easy to remove. You just pull them away and then lift them out. And then it's virtually the same thing on the other side. It has a little tab on here what says open on it, so you just push that and lift that out. Very simple, very easy to remove. So as I've already mentioned, you've got the front panel, which is a very understated looking and solid design, but it does look rather nice. I really quite like the look of this front panel design, but we expect that maybe there might be some issues with airflow here. There's only quite a small gap around the edge of this front panel, and if I just get my tape measure out, we can measure that at roughly about 15 millimeters, so it's not a huge gap for airflow. One other thing about this front panel as well is really quite tight, really difficult to remove, as you will see. Really tightly held on. Oh, geez, that is tight. So once you've got the front panel removed, you can see behind it on the actual frame of the chassis the space for either 320mm fans, 340mm fans, or a 240, 280 or 360mm radiator at the front, which is really quite good to say that this is quite a compact chassis. In fact, it's probably one of the smaller mid-tower ATX chassis I've seen for a while, and it's not really much bigger than, say a micro ATX chassis. So the front panel, like I said, it's a completely solid design, and it's a metal front panel with kind of a plastic frame on the back, and you can see that's where it locates to the frame of the chassis. This vented area is just held on with some screws, so possibly you could remove it for cleaning these vents maybe, although it's probably not much point. Very similar to the front panel, this top panel is also held on very tightly. It almost feels like you could possibly break something when you're trying to pull these off. That was a little bit easier than the front panel. And again, like the front panel, the outer section of this top panel is metal. I think it's a thin sheet steel, and then on the inside you've got this plastic frame what holds a perforated metal dust filter inside, and again this is held on with screws, and you can probably remove that if you need to clean the filter out. So beneath the new mesh top panel that we've now removed, there is another space for 3 120mm fans or 140mm fans, and quite disappointingly, according to the manual, you cannot fit a radiator up here. The space between the top of the chassis and the motherboard is only enough to get some fans in, so you're pretty much stuck. If you're using a radiator or only one CPU cooler, you're pretty much stuck with front radiator mounting. So moving on to the inside of the case, this is a mid-tower chassis, so that means you can fit a standard ATX, micro ATX and mini ITX motherboards inside here. You've also got this full cover power supply shroud with a little window so you can see your power supply logo. So the only pre-installed fan that comes with the Macube 310 is this 120mm, pretty plain looking black system fan in the rear. It's installed or configured as an exhaust, so to blow warm air out, and it can be adjusted. The height can be adjusted at the rear. There's various screw slots here, so you can move this up and down depending on where you want to position it. As you can see, there's various cable management cutouts around the motherboard area. The three to the side of the motherboard have rubber grommets, the rest of them don't. Another interesting feature on the inside of the case is this little VGA support bracket, and you can actually move this up and down, and this will obviously support the rear of the graphics card and try and prevent some graphics card sag. So I'm going to be quite interested to see how well that works when we build the system later. So at the back of the case there is a 7+2 PCIe slot arrangement, so that means you can install the graphics card either horizontally or vertically. However, you do have to buy the adapter and riser cable separately from Deepcool, so you've got to obviously factor that into the cost if you're wanting to mount the graphics card vertically. So moving round to the kind of less glamorous side of the PC case, you've got these two 2.5 inch SSD or hard drive brackets. They're removable. You've also got more storage available lower down with this 3.5 inch hard drive cage with two bays, and they can actually fit either 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch drives inside them. The lower cage is also removable, so if you have a larger power supply or if you're just wanting to create more space, you could take that out, and there's also some adjustment either way as well, again to make room for a larger power supply. So another handy feature at the back of the case is this fan hub. This is able to take four 4-pin PWM fans, and you can also see that there is quite a few cable management eyelets running down all the areas that you want them, and then down the middle there's these Velcro straps to keep all your cables nice and neat. And then last but not least, you've got the front I/O panel that consists of power and reset buttons. There's also a power LED indicator, two USB 3.0 Type A ports, and two 3.5mm HD audio for a microphone and headphones. So now we know a bit about the Macube 310 and the features that it has. Let's move on to build a system inside. For the build, we'll be using an Asus ROG Crosshair 7 Hero X470 motherboard with a AMD Ryzen 7 2700X CPU. We will also use 16 gig of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro DDR4 3200 MHz memory, a Gigabyte RTX 2070 Super Gaming OC graphics card, a Corsair Force LE200 SSD, and we'll probably throw in a hard drive somewhere along the lines as well. For cooling, we're going to use the Deepcool Castle 240EX all-in-one CPU cooler, and then to power the system we'll be using a Seasonic Focus PX850. So we've got a system installed inside the Macube 310 now. Everything's up and running and it's all working as it should be. We have run some thermal performance tests on the case to see how it performs with this new vented top panel, and I'm pleased to say that building the system inside the 310p was quite an enjoyable experience. That is partly down to this large amount of space you have at the front of the case. There's no 5¼ inch bays in the Macube 310. So you have loads of room at the front. You can install a big all-in-one CPU cooler, and it also allows you plenty of room for a long high-end graphics card. Another interesting feature of the case that I pointed out towards the beginning of this review was the included or built-in VGA support bracket. I was a little skeptical on whether that would do a good job, but it does actually seem to work pretty well. And it is really quite a simple solution to a problem that we've been facing for a while, and it only takes minimal effort, just a quick adjustment of the screw at the back, raise the support bracket up underneath the GPU until it looks level, and then tighten it back up and away you go. So you'll probably notice that around the back of the case the cable management area is also very well thought through. All the cutouts are exactly where you'd expect them to be. We would have liked to have seen the rubber grommets on all of them and not just the 3 down the side of the motherboard, but saying that, there is also plenty of eyelets to tie down the cables. We managed to do a pretty neat job of the cable management, and for a case in this kind of price bracket, that's something that you don't always get. There's also a healthy around about 23 to 24 millimeters of space between the motherboard tray and the side panel, so that again allows you plenty of room to manage all your cables and then still get the side panel back on without any kind of bulging or any issues. And also the included fan hub, that seems to work perfectly well. We connected up our rear system fan to that and then attached that to our motherboard, and we were able to control the system fan with PWM control, so that's another nice handy little feature that Deepcool's added. My only slight gripe with the interior of the case is this kind of limited space between the motherboard tray and the top of the chassis. I would have liked to have seen Deepcool give us the option to be able to install an all-in-one CPU cooler at the top of the chassis if we wanted to. We did try during the installation, but it's just simply not possible. So on to the build quality of the case. Again, this is pretty good for this kind of budget range. We're not expecting, you know, premium materials like aluminium or, you know, anything extravagant, but it does have a pretty sturdy feel to it, especially when you have all the panels connected back onto the chassis. It does feel really quite stable, and it's probably up there with some of the better build qualities in this price range. So the main new feature of this case, like we've said previously, is this new vented top panel, and we were obviously keen to see how that affected thermal performance. So we ran some IDA64 stress tests, stressing both the CPU and the GPU with the case in various different configurations. We've begun with the case in its default configuration, as you can see it now, and then we ran the same test with the tempered glass side panel removed, the front panel removed, and then with 2 120mm fans fitted behind this new vented top panel to see how that affected the thermal performance. So as we often see with thermal performance testing of PC cases, the GPU temperature was at its lowest under load with the side panel removed. Removing the front panel lowered the CPU temperature by over 10 degrees C compared with the default configuration, and when installing 2 120mm fans in the roof, that dropped the GPU load temperature by approximately 5 degrees C. So even with this rather restrictive front panel design, the Macube 310 handles thermals quite respectably. And then during our noise level tests, the noise levels remained pretty consistent throughout the test, with only the real noticeable increase in noise levels coming when we removed the front panel. With this case in its default configuration, noise levels are more than acceptable with this choice of components that we have installed. So overall, the Deepcool Macube 310p, it's turned out to be quite an impressive little mid-tower case. I quite like the look of this solid, understated front panel design, and the matte black coating. It kind of gives it a bit of a premium looking appearance. You've obviously got the tempered glass side panel that we're used to seeing with cases of this style these days, and this one is not got too dark of a tint to it, so you can still see inside at those lovely expensive components you've fitted. And the main feature of this 310p is obviously this new mesh top panel, and it does offer you some extra cooling. Obviously it'll allow some natural heat to rise and come out of the system that you didn't have with the original 310 that had the solid panel, and if you are fitting fans into this top panel, they'll obviously work much more efficiently now with this more open layout compared with the airflow just coming out of these side vents. Installing a system inside the case was really quite simple. It's one of the nicest small mid-tower cases that I've worked with for quite a long time, so that's something else that's really impressive. And I like the little features, the VGA bracket, the fan hub, those kind of things just add that little bit extra to a case that you don't always get with these budget models. So yeah, that's, you know, quite a good plus point for me. And the only slight letdown was the lack of space at the top for fitting an all-in-one CPU cooler. However, saying that, during our thermal performance tests with the all-in-one fitted at the front of the case, we were happy with the results. It wasn't the best in the world, but it's more than adequate for a CPU such as the Ryzen 2700X, and it's probably the kind of spec system that we'd expect to be built into a case like this. So I hope you've enjoyed our review of the Deepcool Macube 310p. If you have, then don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. If you want a bit more information about this case, you want to see the full specifications and check out the thermal performance tests in more detail, then head over to the KitGuru website where there's a full detailed written review. You can also check out our Facebook page where you can discuss what you think of this Macube 310p with other KitGuru readers and viewers, or just have a chat about other reviews we've done in the past. I've been James for KitGuru. Thank you for watching.